This is a Honky Tonk Man, the greatest intercontinental champion of all time.
Hey everybody, this is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. You are listening to...
And you're listening to The Wrestler Review.
Priceless.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kane edition of The Wrestler Review. Why are we doing this? Well, because we support his mayoral candidacy. Because there's one thing I believe in, and that's libertarian politics. Are you an independently wealthy white man who believes that schools are for fucking losers and taxes are for those goddamn communists? Well, guess what?
Do you want The Purge to turn from a movie into a thing that happens in August?
Yeah.
Libertarians.
Do you believe that garbage collection is a sign that feminism is eroding our country? Well, then, ladies and gentlemen, may I direct...
I do, John.
Direct your eyes towards a libertarian candidate. Keep in mind, it would be like if a political ideology was based off the Lord of the Rings book. Are you really into Catcher in the Rye? Well, follow my political ideology, fakeism.
We are, of course, doing a episode of... Oh, this is the first in our 4-part series on Kane.
Keep it
Glen
crispy.
Jacobs. Ooh, yeah. So what we'll be doing in this one, we're going to do up to his first WWF title win against Stone Cold.
Who's
Stone Cold? Steve Austin. Stone Cold is his Danish equivalent.
That sounds like a territorial wrestler that Jim Cornette had a real problem with during Smoky Mountain. Be fucking Stone Cold, come in fucking here, fucking kid. You fucking demanding, you know what you want? You want to get paid in fucking cheeseburger, you fucking cunt. So I took a baseball bat and killed his kid, cunt.
Jim Cornette is the most guy he's a left-wing guy, but he's so quick to violence.
He's a Dixie Democrat. I love it. He's the type of Democrat I am.
Oh, you mean, it's like, just because I'm a Democrat doesn't mean I accept gay marriage. Yeah. That's you.
No, that's you.
I ain't no sissy boy.
You don't even believe in democracy? No, that's why Jim Cornette's even better. Like when he went on that hugely Islamophobic rant and then apologized by being like, "Oh, I didn't understand what I was saying," was just like one of the most honest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Sorry, it's just in my heart, I believe all those things. Oh, okay, cool.
I'm sorry, I think you forgot. I am from Kentucky, so sometimes you just have to not like people that aren't white or they revoke your residency.
Before we start about Glen Jacobs, I will say this. For the country to really work, the America, Canada, all of the free world, they have to have 4 parties, and essentially they break down as this. Left-wing party, a right-wing party, then a left-wing party that's openly racist, and then a right-wing party that's openly racist. And then you can just divide it that way. And every time there's an election, the racist party will get more votes than you're comfortable with.
I gotta say this. As usual, Dylan Gott breaks down politics perfectly, and yet no one listens to him because he's a dumb fucking bitch.
No, they listen to me because my dick be dragging every time I step, brah.
What was the new slang I heard? I've been in LA for 2 months and I heard a new piece of slang. Apparently now in a lot of underground rap battles, I don't understand, that made me sound whiter than ever.
No, when you said Jim Cornette goes on hugely Islamophobic rants from time to time, but before that you said he's the type of Democrat I am, that was probably the whitest thing. He's like me. He's a racist Democrat.
No, I don't. I am not Islamophobic. I'm straight up. I don't know. I am. I was about.
Really put you in a corner. There.
You really did.
Slang.
The new slang is, I put your lips in the dirt, which is implying that you, a man, have a vagina and you've fallen down and that's bad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I thought it would be you knocked out a guy face down, but it's...
That's what I thought, but there's an extra layer to it, which I'm like, that's good. That's good stuff.
Oh, so being feminine is bad, and you found a different way to say that. Agreed.
100%.
Now let's start reviewing Kane.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
The only way to listen to this episode, everyone, is put on the Rough Riders anthem.
Yes.
Listen to the first part and begin. Mr. Jacobs, as I assume he likes to be called, was born in the Spanish town of Torreno de Ardoz.
On a United States Air Force base. He grew up near St. Louis. He attended high school at Bowling Green.
He survived the massacre. Do you remember that?
Yes. No, yeah, sorry. So he was born in the Spanish town of, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that. And then he escaped a house fire that claimed his father,
Oh, you're right.
who he thought to be his father, and his mother's lives, and his was separated from his brother Undertaker, where they were both put in the system, even though Undertaker's clearly about 15 years old. Kane must have been the kid that they had just because they figured they didn't have to use rubbers.
No, Kane's the kid they had because Kane's mom fucked their really gross assistant at the mortuary they lived at together.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's very confusing.
Also, was Kane's mom 7 feet tall?
Oh, no, Kane's mom was a Humvee truck.
Yeah. Mr. Bear, I think you're confused. You just had a bunch of sandwiches inside a truck. That's not this.
Yeah, Mr. Bearer, I think you don't know what sex is. All that happened is you spilled a bunch of mayonnaise on the upholstery of my Humvee. Oh, yes, Kane.
But it was sex, Daryl. I'll say it's sex.
I cooked it. Also, fun fact, Kane, who now I assume doesn't tell people where he lives in Arkansas, or in the Smoky Mountain region, that he is from Spain, because they would just assume that means he's Mexican and not vote for him to be mayor.
Oh, for sure. Well, he'll be like, that's why he's a great right-wing candidate, odds are, because he'll be like, actually, I was born in Spain. And people will be like, ooh, and he's like, and I fucking left because it was disgusting. They're like, yay!
Yay! Yeah. I was born on a military base. My mom was a gun and my dad was an eagle. Yeah.
But Kane was, you would think, given his size, being like, he is legit like 6'7", 6'8", he would have been a basketball player, but he actually was really good at football. And classic thing, he gets injured during a training camp for, I believe it was the Chicago Bears.
Oh, Dylan, do you remember what his injury was? He
broke his legs. Both.
No, his injury was that he was covered head to toe in burns from his family tragedy,
Oh, yeah.
and it was very hard for him to get tackled. Yeah.
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 No, yeah, that was it. The Chicago Bears wouldn't let him wear full sweaters because he wasn't comfortable. And also, part of it, I forgot this, part about he had one eye as well, that he then started working again while he was wrestling. Wasn't that fun?
Yeah, it's really weird that he only had one eye, and he wasn't able to speak, and then because of his friendship with the Generation X, which we'll get into next week, he learned how to speak. It's real weird.
He needed to tell women to suck his dick, and X-Pac was like, no, use your throat. And he was like, suck my cock.
This is the best thing about wrestling, is that if you believe the Attitude Era logic, how do you heal a burn victim? You get him to talk about pussy in a derogatory fashion.
I don't know how to tell you this, but your son no longer has cerebral palsy. He's so misogynist, he corrected it. Misogyny is the only cure for any disease.
Hello, Mrs. Johansson. Yes, regarding your son, Michael, I understand that he had an inoperable brain tumor. Luckily, we were able to get him to say to a woman, yo slut, give me your money. You don't deserve that money. The tumor is receding.
He needs to say these things,
Yeah.
or he will die.
That man's been shot 11 times. There's only one way to save him. Quickly, get a woman and get him to comment on her booty in a way that would not befit a boss talking to an employee.
So, Kane, we'll cut to the long and short of it here. He basically, much like every wrestler, good at football, not good enough to be fully pro, hurts leg, says that's why he got into wrestling. In reality, you get time off, you look at your options, you're 23, 24, and you think, I'm not that good at this, let's go into wrestling, essentially. Which is not a dumb thing, it's just how things are. So he makes the smart decision to go into wrestling. He starts out, actually pretty quickly, gets pretty far, like job match against Sting in WCW. He's working with Smoky Mountain Wrestling. He's working with the USWA, where he's basically putting on different masks every week and feuding with Jerry Lawler. And you could really see how athletic the guy is. And he's got a really, really sexy body. It's really sleek, like a swimmer. He's a big, tall swimmer.
It's that beautiful shade of pale that makes it seem like he's a plastic bag that's somehow come to life and knows how to move.
And he's dressed up as Unabomber for a bit, where essentially he just has a hockey mask on. And
Humongous character, but it's Jim Cornette, so Jim Cornette just goes like, oh, but let's make that different. So the Unabomber was very popular at that time, so he just called him Unabomb, which makes no sense because Unabomber was University Bomber, and something else, Bomber. So just to call him Unabomb, it's like he's the University Bomb.
Well, there's a lot of that. We've talked about it before, and we'll talk about it again right now. But Randy Orton's finishing move is literally he hit him with the RKO.
The Randy knockout.
Or it's also his initials, right?
The Randall Kendall Orton?
Yeah.
Is his middle name
What's your
Kendall?
finishing move called? It's the Stunner. I'm Stone Cold. Oh, that makes sense. What's yours? Mine's my name, Randy. I'm Randy.
Mine's the Atherton Avalanche. I'm Dylan.
What's your finishing move? My name, Randy Kenneth Orton. Do you mean Ken Orton? I say Kenneth.
Yeah. I'm Randy Keith Orton, and I think you'll find I've shat in your bag. I call that a granddad because that's who taught me how to do it.
So Kane is teaming with Al Snow, who's kind of his mouthpiece in Smoky Mountain, which I'm only mentioning because the end of this episode will have one of the most politically incorrect interviews I've ever heard of in my life. That has ever played on television, I'm going to say, by Mr. Al Snow,
of course,
with Kane only contributing the, what I would say, impression of a mentally handicapped person that people used to do when I was a kid. That's what he's contributing to the interview.
Well, here's the thing you have to remember about Al Snow, is that personality isn't a new addition to himself.
No, it is not. That is how Al Snow still thinks wrestling should be. You say the guy's handicapped, that's the whole feud.
Yeah. He's not strong.
His mind is bad, the feud. So Kane is working in Puerto Rico when Dirty Dutch Mantel apparently recommended to the WWF. His first usage was as Diesel's stunt double in a casket on a pay-per-view they were doing where The Undertaker was saying he was going to, kill Diesel.
Yeah.
And Diesel could see himself in the casket. Crazy.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
Yeah, but they eventually, he's a big boy, so they come up with a character for him. The world-famous Isaac Yankem, DDS. John, what did you think about Isaac Yankem?
You know what? I liked it a lot, because here's how they thought it up. Jerry Lawler is royalty. Mm-hmm. Royalty are British people only, so his teeth would be bad, so he would have a dentist.
That's good.
Keep in mind the actual theory of where this came from is that Jim Cornette and Jim Ross are both convinced that Vince McMahon had a bad time at the dentist because he wasn't around for a morning and then came back and had this character, which is the most Jim Cornette or the most Vince McMahon thing I've heard in a long time.
He just had to spend any time directly away from wrestling, so he just made a character about it?
Yeah, I need to make my dentist appointment tax deductible.
No, apparently, according to Brew Pritch, the genesis for the character was Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan came up with it. The whole damn thing.
That's even crazier that Bobby Heenan would have one bad idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably know who Isaac Yankem is, but I would recommend familiarizing yourself once again with his works because his theme song was just a dentist drill.
The thing with it is that Isaac Yankem was part of the time in wrestling when it was just like they would joke like, oh, everyone has a job, but no, like the joke is real. Everyone legitimately just had a job, and that was the job. Also, keep in mind, like he was brought in like Jim Cornette, Jim Ross, they see this guy as the next big opponent for The Undertaker. They see him as Kane. They don't know that it's going to be Kane. A lot of disappointment around who he is. And it's this interesting thing in the first half of Kane. So he's Isaac Yankem. He has a feud with Bret Hart. It doesn't work out. And then it moves on to him being Fake Diesel. Fake Diesel, by the way, was either done because of the lawsuit that WCW was having with WWE over who owns the intellectual property surrounding Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. The other thing to keep in mind about all of this is that Glen Jacobs, again, is supposed to be this next sort of blue chipper, big part of the company, and he gets saddled with another bad gimmick courtesy of Vince McMahon. And you can kind of tell once he gets the Kane character in 96. Is it 96?
97.
It's in 97, pardon me. That it's openly his last chance, but it's also like his only actual chance because this is the first time he has something to work with. Like Fake Diesel and Fake Razor is one of the biggest dumb moves wrestling has ever made.
It's one of the craziest, dumbest things that and like you said, it was either because of that lawsuit or because Vince just was so mad or something. But it was just, and I will say this, as far as him being Diesel, being the fake Diesel, he did a good job at it. Rick Bogner was so much worse than Scott Hall. Like, and I don't mean at playing Scott Hall, I just mean like
in general,
so much slower. Yeah, where it's like Diesel, it sounds weird, but like Glen Jacobs to Kevin Nash, when you look at that transition, you're like, okay, well, this guy is maybe a bit stronger, it looks like, than the real Diesel. But you look at Bogner and like, oh, this is in every way just to discount Scott Hall. He's just like this fat guy.
Yeah, he doesn't have the same charisma. Yeah, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, and he just never closed his mouth.
Oh, yeah. He never closed his mouth, and he
his
also...
mouth was just like wide open.
He also... Rick Bogner has also one of the worst faces. It's the only thing that it has a...
Yeah, it's a bad
It's
face.
a perfect square, but somehow also fat. Like, I've never seen anything like it. It looks like really frozen butter.
And the other thing is, you're basically seceding that people are watching WCW because Diesel and Razor Ramon were never a tag. I know that sounds weird.
Yeah, they never were openly friends.
Yeah. They were never on TV. They were never associated. Their characters were associated, obviously, but that was via like Diesel face, Razor face, bodyguard. So now you're basically admitting like, oh, these guys are the, I don't know. You're basically like, these guys are playing the tag team like they do on the other show. I mean, that sounds obvious, but that's another big thing of it. Yeah, and they do move out of Diesel and Razor. Basically, their last appearance is at the 19 Royal Rumble, which is crazy because between that and in about April of that year, 97, they slowly start building where Paul Bearer, The Undertaker have now split, and Paul Bearer is going to manage The Undertaker's next new opponent, Kane, which, I mean, like it, don't like it. We're going to see this over these 4 weeks, but Jesus Christ, maybe the best character in wrestling history just for longevity. Should he have gone away? Yes.
Is Dylan completely wrong about that longevity thing? 100%. Stone Cold has been a more legitimate, unchanging character than Kane has. Kane has changed drastically.
Yeah, but Kane's also been on TV for 21 years now.
All right, maybe you are right. Except I will not admit defeat.
Anyone can sell more T-shirts than anyone ever has of all time ever.
Yeah, so I'm right. You're wrong. John wins. Dylan doesn't. John wins. Dylan doesn't.
True man
to be named John Hastings. You're right. I am a true man. Unlike
half
you.
His head.
That's you.
And then put a mask back on, and then a wig, and then be on TV choke slamming Roman Reigns while campaigning for votes. And you're nice. So after the break, we're gonna talk about the debut of Kane up until his first title win in June of 1998. Sit back, light up a fatty for this other fatty, and say being fat is fun. This is Dylan from the Goddamn Wrestler Review, the show you're listening to right now. Please come to our show September 2nd in London, England. It is £10 if you are not a Patreon member and £5 if you are. Tickets are available at wrestlerreview.angelfire.com. You can also go to our Twitter at Wrestler Review. It is the pinned post. And our Facebook page, the Wrestler Review podcast, where we have set up a cool-ass Facebook event. Otherwise, you can go to paypal.me/Wrestler Review. That's paypal.me/Wrestler Review, and donate either £10 if you are not a member or £5 if you are to see the wonderful show, the best motherfucking show of all time, the Wrestler Review Live, where we will be reviewing Stan Hansen and may or may not hire a fat man to show up as Stan Hansen and beat us to a death. Bye-bye.
We're back, everybody. Welcome to the second half of the first half of the Kane series.
Whoa.
I'm the better half. I'm John Hastings. That's Dylan Gott. Let's get into it. Dylan, let's talk about your inefficiencies as a lover. They are rampant.
You're Kane-like in your burnt dick. You have a burnt dick.
Nice. Harsh, but accurate.
So, check this, John. This is Kane... Here's the whole thing, is like, do you think they were basically planning to have one match at WrestleMania with Kane, and then things went better than they expected? Because they do a huge build-up to introducing him, and they didn't really do that with a lot of other Undertaker opponents. Like, I guess you compare him to Giant Gonzalez maybe with the way he's an Undertaker opponent, just that specifically, and the way they intro Giant Gonzalez was he's fucking here now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, meet Giant Gonzalez. Wow.
Yeah. Look at him, he's right fucking there. We put a suit on him because he's thin.
We put a fucking suit on him, bro. Here you go.
There you
Fucking
go.
go. Look at
He's
him.
got a fucking suit on him. And the debut of Kane, obviously, he debuts in the Michaels Undertaker Hell in a Cell, rips the door off, comes in, beats the shit out of the Undertaker. Fantastic debut for anybody. They could like that shit still works now with Braun Strowman. That's how you know it was good, right?
It's the best part of it's the best debut of the Attitude Era by far.
You think so?
Yeah. What's a better debut in the Attitude Era than that? Val Venus is a close second, but that's a number one.
So you mean a new character, not just a guy switching?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, new character, yeah, for sure. That it's also,
But the thing is in the WWF, not that many people switched. Like, the WWF will have you believe in the Monday Night Wars. Like, wrestlers are going back and forth, and it was like, no, they weren't. Wrestlers were going to WCW because they were like, hey, you want to not do house shows and make double the money? Yeah. All right, come over here.
yeah, and also guaranteed money. Like, so wait a minute. If this guy who's on blow all the time but doesn't think blow is addictive, sometimes just thinks I should be fired, I'm fired with no pay? Oh, yeah, okay, well, maybe I'll go to the other place where they have maybe a union might form, you know?
Yeah, I'm going to go work for the other guy who, while he does believe that he is good at karate and karate is good, he will pay me $500,000 to sometimes just not show up for 3 years.
Listen to our Lanny Poffo episode for more on that one, baby.
Lanny Poffo made about $1 million never leaving his home.
So good. He tried to get them to let him wrestle, and they wouldn't let him. Please,
Like
can I wrestle, please? No?
No.
Fine. I'll be cooling my genitals in the sink.
Yes, if you'll
injured, by the way.
excuse me, I'm off to use an infrared sauna and to not eat solid food so I don't have to wipe when I shit.
Real stuff. That is real Lanny Poffo,
Yeah.
actual stuff.
We are not exaggerating, Lanny Poffo. Lanny Poffo brings it in the yard, I'll tell you. Oh.
Also, so Bruce Pritchard claims he basically came up with the whole character he came up with the genesis of it, and him and the writing staff kind of filled it all in. And I do think it was a very brilliant thing is that he's been Isaac Yankem in the fake Diesel so recently that the burns all over his body, blah, 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 blah. That was come up with because Vince McMahon was like, you literally cannot see 1 inch of Isaac Yankem. Like, they can't at all. Nothing about Isaac Yankem can be on this character.
It's so smart. This is a point that you've made when we've just discussed Kane before, and I'm going to make it for you, but I'm pointing out it's your point. It's also Kane was lucky to debut now before the internet because if he had debuted now, he would have walked out and you would have just heard 10,000 people making a drill noise.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way. It's so funny watching like how wrestling fans have gotten better and worse. Like I was watching an old Royal Rumble, which by the way, it was Royal Rumble 1999, or was it 2000? No, I think it was 2000. Where it's 2000 because they're in Madison Square Garden. So, Bob Backlund comes back and he's doing a good job running around the ring, and no one reacts or does anything, whereas now he would have got a "You Still Got It" chant and been pretty over, you know what I mean? And also Jerry Lawler doing the running joke of saying that Kai and Tai are Chinese instead of Japanese. You think that's tasteless? Listen to the goddamn promo at the end of this, baby. It is top level taste.
I'm going to say this. Especially when you get to next week, when how Jerry Lawler refers to Kane throughout the late 90s. Like, my God in heaven. If anyone says, like, if anyone is going around being like, man, freedom of speech is eroded. I remember the good old days of the early 2000s where you could say what you like. I was like, whoa, there was a... Let's put it this way. I don't believe in that you can cross a line pretty easily, but we cross some lines. It's not what he said. It's the amount he said it.
He really drives the point home.
Yeah.
So Kane comes out and beats the shit out of The Undertaker. The whole thing, Undertaker won't fight him. We're going to spend extra time on this first part of Kane coming in because I really do think it's like people forget how fucking amazing Kane was in that first year. He's doing one-handed chokeslams.
The other thing you have to put in is that the build for him to show up, is out of control because it starts stupid, but it works, which is Kane and Undertaker lighting each other's faces on fire. And then suddenly we're in a situation where now it's Kane, it's like Undertaker goes, I'm going to reveal your secret. We don't know what that secret is, and then the secret is your brother is Kane. He's coming. Like, it builds and builds and builds and builds. Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, well, it's great because he won't touch Kane, and eventually he does. Obviously, he touches them all over with his fists. But those first... Some lovely person has put up Kane from basically his first Raw appearances and as they progress. And if you watch the first Raw appearance, people obviously aren't conditioned to who Kane is. A month in, Kane is now over as like a borderline face. Like, people are so pumped because he's such a great...
He's just beating the shit out of people. It's so exciting.
And he's doing one-handed choke slams. Like, that's the whole thing. He comes in, first thing he does... First appearance on Raw, he beats up the Hardy Boys, which is crazy how wrestling just has not changed.
Yeah.
But he double
Why wouldn't you beat up the
Hardy Boys?
Yeah.
And this is when the Hardy Boys we're the rockers, the Hardy Boys. He beats up these two twinks. He just punishes twinks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that on Pornhub with the title "Masked Man Punishes Two Twinks" and see how many hits it gets.
I guarantee it'll set on fire.
Ooh, it'll light up the internet. It's going viral, baby.
Get ready to be hot, hot, hot.
But they put Kane over. He goes right into a WrestleMania match with The Undertaker, and a great thing that they didn't really do with any Undertaker opponents before or since at WrestleMania was... No, they started doing it again, obviously, once the streak got there, but it was... The Undertaker barely escaped this. Like, he emptied the tank. He had to use 3 tombstones. On the last one, they say he was, like, struggling to lift him. And it was great.
It was also one of those things where it's one of the last... This is a very old-school wrestling thing, which was... he beat him, but the feud was so hot, and they positioned the Kane so strong that, like, The Undertaker beating him once, it was still like, yeah, but you only beat him one time. Like, that guy literally just ate 4 wrestlers' lunch, and, like, he just slapped a building. Like, it's so much... Like, he was so much more powerful than one defeat. Like...
Yeah, he just comes in... And
they put him over the way you can see that they clearly wanted to put over someone like, say, a Roman Reigns, but he's just the whole thing is just fucking amazing.
No, yeah, well, Roman Reigns is way more of like a superhero type push, whereas Kane is obviously the monster buddy. But he fucking, and that's the thing, it's not just straight up jobbers. Like, he beats the shit out of Crush. and then the entire DOA comes down, and they basically have a standoff of like who's gonna win, this victim of child molestation or these racists, and the racists back down, and that's supposed to make you angry.
Yeah, your dad and his friends just lost to that man who gets a close parking spot. Someone write a letter. But I think the other thing I want to stress in this time is also they do make missteps, but the booking is so strong and it's so believable because one of the things they don't do now, just to compare it, is there's also this build-up beforehand, which they were used to be great at. Like, you'd get updates on injured wrestlers. You get updates on whenever. They weren't just vignettes. It was talked about. It was included in part of the whole atmosphere of the show. They don't do that anymore. So you're not invested in the character when he arrives. Now it's like, oh, this character's here. His name's Bill. He's friends with these guys. You'll figure it out if you like him. I don't know. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
It's also... They fuck up a bunch of the Kane booking in that they have him go to Generation X in a second. They have him sort of be with The Undertaker, but they always return back to the original genesis of the idea, and they don't get that far away from it, so it never really, like, it never gets so far that you're like, F this guy and his A.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, eventually...
Yeah, I know it's true, because I said it, because I'm smart. I'm smarter than you. Admit it.
John said a thing and he's happy, but he shouldn't be because he's Kane, except not good at fights.
That's what I say to you.
John's
I just farted into the mic. I just farted in the mic. I win.
No. By the way, these are 100% real farts. So, Kane, my best friend. How do you progress the storyline after the big brother has beaten his little brother, John?
Okay. I think what it is in the next match you have. Remember how I got hurt in a fire? So we're gonna have a match where we try and light each other on fire match.
But who's Kane's dad?
Oh, is this when I thought they revealed this later. That Paul Bearer is actually Kane's dad, and for some reason that's the Undertaker's fault.
No, this is the crazy thing. Like, it gets weird immediately. Like, my placement of Kane was that for a full year, he was just a super badass who the only reason basically he was a heel is because Paul Bearer was so good at being a heel himself. But no, it was pretty quickly that they basically... this is another one. They resisted Kane being a face because this is... your post, like, it sounds like a weird schism to talk about, but your post when everyone was cheering Sid Justice basically because Sid beat the shit out of people and people are just ready for a no-nonsense, I kill everybody, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're ready for, like, oh, this guy has no outward, like, good characteristics, but I like it when he murders the boys.
And also the thing to remember is about... sorry, I got distracted by... how warm that fart I just had was.
Oh, you think you shit your pants?
No, but I felt it from above my tailbone out my butt, and it was like a warm blade being removed from me.
That sounds like a shit.
It wasn't a shit. I don't have any weight in my trunks.
Ooh, doctor. Well, you probably have some check marks in there. You shit your pants.
I didn't. I'm just very healthy, and so if there's anything bad, my body expels it. Unlike you, Dylan, who keeps everything locked inside.
No, I keep it all outside.
Yeah, that's why you have blotchy skin.
John, talk about Kane. Fuck.
That's the other thing is I just want to keep coming back to this point. Is we all remember Kane as being what a great booked character, such smart booking. The first year they kept him strong, no problems, if you actually go back and look at it, they keep the booking logical with Kane for 1 month. 1 month. Okay, Kane debuts, he's against The Undertaker. That makes total sense. Undertaker won't fight him because he's his brother and he's emotionally conflicted.
Great stuff.
Instead... great stuff. Loving it. Instead, they then have him join DX for no reason.
No, that's after.
No, it's not. Because that's before WrestleMania 14. He joins DX twice.
No, it's after this.
No, it's not.
All right, I'll confirm that, but I think...
No, because they have their match at WrestleMania 14. how they set that up is that he joins DX, then he joins and becomes friends with The Undertaker for like a minute, and then Paul Bearer comes back. It was all a ruse. Kane was never with any of them. He then lights the casket on fire, and Shawn Michaels wins the Royal Rumble match where he hurt his spine real bad. Then is Undertaker going to be around? He's not. Undertaker, they have the stage hit with hit with lightning, and he emerges out of a casket for no reason, and then they set up the WrestleMania 14 match.
You're right.
That's the schmozzy, stupid booking that they get to that. Then after that, to set it up again for the Inferno match, they for some reason say Paul Bearer is now the Undertaker's dad, or Kane's dad, that's the Undertaker's fault, Inferno match, which the Undertaker wins again, by the way. Then to make that, they have to get Kane back to being strong really quickly, so they have him beat the actual piss out of Vader, rest in peace. Vader, rest in peace, calls himself a fat piece of shit.
That is the Vader promo to end all Vader promos, and it sucks that it is the week where Vader has passed away, but
it's even worse that I've used all
shit.
It's even worse that I've used all the Patreon money to have his gravestone replaced with just that quote.
He's a fat piece of shit.
Leon White, no birth date, no end date, just Leon White. I'm a fat piece of shit.
So good. So good.
So okay, that's essentially the first 6 months of him booking. Look how illogical it is for Kane's booking, but what keeps him grounded is he's essentially what they want out of Roman Reigns, which is just the fans like it when he hurts people. That's all that there is to Kane in this period, and it's fantastic. It's absolutely spectacular. I love it so much.
And it sounds super obvious, but how do you establish a guy and get him over? Basically, he works his way up the ranks. And by that, I mean the first month, he's killing people like the Hardy Boys and Flash Funk. Those are your jobbers. And then he goes into lower mid-card with the DOA and stuff. And eventually, he's beating the shit out of Ahmed Johnson. Ahmed Johnson getting no offense. Understand how protected Ahmed Johnson was during that period. Understand how protected Road Warrior Hawk was during his whole career. So now he's absorbing all those people. Obviously, he's beating up people who don't get beat up. That sounds super simple, but it's fucking wrestling, baby.
Let's go even further with what you're saying. Understand that he's the only wrestler we've talked about on this program that got in the ring with Ahmed Johnson and didn't get hurt. That's how well they booked Kane.
Yes. Well, I mean, they booked Kane so well because can Ahmed punch me? No.
Yeah, we're not going to give Ahmed any offense because we want to make sure Kane can be here tomorrow.
And he's so good. And really, this is from the time he speaks with the voice modifier thing is great. And him taking offense, how he would no-sell everything and just tilts his head to the side and never fall over. And the other thing, people talk about The Undertaker and how impressive it is that he's never fallen off the rope doing the thing that was called Old School with no previous name before that.
Yeah, which both Dylan and I, by the way, absolutely hate that it's called Old School.
By the way, we hate it.
Yeah, by the way, wrong. By the way, hashtag troll, hashtag we're right, hashtag Proud Boys.
Oh, no, not Proud Boys, not that part.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Proud Boys, I started that before you guys, and it means people that are proud to be wrestling fans. You guys are all fucking cuck bitches.
I mean, there's a very, very, very good chance the Proud Boys are also wrestling fans, John.
No, you can't. One or the other. You pick a side.
Choose your side. Stop rooting against Kofi Kingston.
Yeah, hey, I'm going to say it right now. The Proud Boys, finally, an organization that makes wrestling fans look reasonable.
Yeah, wrestling used to be the thing that was shameful to like. Like, oh, you like that, like, low-class trash, like, just stupid values shit, and now there's so much worse.
Oh.
It's just so much worse out there. It's great.
Being, like, a really extreme wrestling fan, it's like being a member of Mensa now. All right. I don't know if my girlfriend just laughed at what I said, but I really hope that got picked up on the microphone.
That's the good thing about recording this, is that we both record within our domicile. So
yeah.
Every time our partners laugh, it always hurts, and you forget that you're talking about wrestling until a woman laughs at you.
Yeah.
And then you're 10 again.
Yeah, it's just, you're having a nice time with your friend, and then the woman that you love more than anything on the planet laughs at a thing that's helping pay your rent, and you just figure, well, getting a boner later is going to be a problem, but we'll figure it out.
So another thing I want to mention, Kane had a cape for a bit. He just took it off at the top of the ring.
This was next on my list, by the way, because I wanted to go back. My favorite Kane match of the early era is his match with Mick Foley, because if there is ever in doubt of why Mick Foley fucking rules, it's this match with Kane, which is essentially like Kane walks out in a cape for no reason, and then Mick Foley just takes a bunch of moves on the fucking entrance ramp. Like a choke slam, a bunch of slams, just on the entrance ramp, mostly because I think it made a cool noise.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's the whole thing. I want to return, though, to the fun parts of Kane during this. We're not the ones he's concussing that man who can't walk anymore. The fun part where Kane gets the DNA test to prove that Paul Bearer is, in fact, his father. Kane is, of course, like... That's the problem. It's the first time they dip their toe into the exposing of Kane, which is you now are bringing this fantastical character into the real world.
Yeah, you can't it's in the same way that they don't have The Undertaker show up at the Hall of Fame, which I know is just because The Undertaker doesn't want to go, but he's like excused it because he's like, oh, I can't because it'll reveal my character. They're like, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. Kane is in a balaclava, he's in a ski mask, and he's also in like a ski suit. Like he's in a ski suit outside in this doctor's office getting blood drawn with Paul Bearer.
Is he still wearing the mask? Oh hell yeah.
No, he's wearing a ski mask, and you can clearly see he has red hair when every other time he's got black hair.
Because it's a wig. No, it's sometimes his red hair as well.
I'm just saying. It's like red curly hair, and you're like, yeah, well, I mean, you just ruined it. Like, it'll take you, not ruined it, it'll just take you a month or a couple months to get back to that. Because that's what we've seen with, like, Braun Strowman. Even in this era, you can totally rehab a dude. Like, there's no excuse. Like, with Braun Strowman, they just fucking floor up. He basically beat jobbers for a year, and now he's, like, awesome and the most over guy. But now Kane is... You have to view him as a comic. Like, you have to have him be an upper mid-carder. When essentially, one of the ways they could have ended this, I mean, they wouldn't have done it before. They wouldn't have done it, obviously, because it's The Undertaker. But the way to end it, if you're looking from an outside perspective, from a story perspective, is probably to have Kane win and beat The Undertaker.
Yeah.
Because he's new and he's different. And yes, he has to have a manager, but he's got goddamn Paul Bearer. And Paul Bearer is so good during this period. Paul Bearer is so good. Rewatching all this shit, when he's like, I gave it to her, Undertaker. I did the dirty with your mommy. It's like, yeah.
A lot of people also, according Paul Bearer, also is like, this is where I stopped being Paul Bearer and just started being Percy Pringle again.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, absolutely. It's so good.
Yeah, he went from Paul Bearer, the cryptic guy with the white face paint, to just regular old Percy Pringle, the guy who, before he goes into any restaurant, goes right to the ladies' bathrooms and sniffs all them damn seats.
Yeah. Oh my God! What? That's not a trash can for your tampons. That's just Percy Pringle who wants to eat them.
All right, I'm gonna go hide in the garbage can in case any ladies throw out stuff they peed on. I'll see you guys in an hour.
Yeah. If it's been in there, it counts as lovemaking.
I had sex again. That's not eating pea rags. Isn't sex, Paul?
No, it is.
Maybe it isn't to you because you're not a Christian.
Oh, yeah.
My Undertaker, he built me an outhouse that had a living room underneath.
There's a great segment where obviously Undertaker is mad at Kane because now he knows that Paul Bearer fucked his mom. And Paul Bearer comes out.
The most wrestling sentence ever. This guy's angry because you his mom.
Yeah, by wrestling standards, just you start a feud with every guy your mom dates.
Trying to make my mom happy?
Yeah. I would have loved to see a wrestling feud between you and Art.
I would have loved something where the Undertaker came to grips with the fact that maybe the reason his mother had sex with Paul Bearer was because of problems within his parents' relationship, and not just because Paul Bearer is a bad person. I would have loved to see that promo, but it never happened, John.
Yeah, wait, is it implied that Paul Bearer consensually had sex with Undertaker's mom? I hope so. Or we are about to get real Vince Russo up in this piece.
I'll say this. I don't know that, and I'm just going to say yes because I'm worried about what the real answer is, John.
You know what? Again, when the Me Too movement finds wrestling, say goodbye to your favorite thing, guys. Like,
I think it's one of those things where there's just too much.
Oh, that's a very good point.
There's too much of it. So this particular segment, Paul Bearer and Kane have dug up the Undertaker's parents, in one case, Kane's own mother's, graves, and Paul Bearer lights the Undertaker's father's grave on fire. He runs up the ramp, and Kane chokeslams him into his dead mother's grave. I just needed to get that sentence out, John.
I know you did, but you just need to explain a little bit more. It's not that they're in a graveyard. Keep this in mind. Kane and Paul Bearer dug up the literal coffins of the parents of the Undertaker and brought them to the Cops Coliseum or wherever the fuck they were.
Yep.
They were having a fucking show.
Yep.
Like, don't go too heavy into the logic of this. It don't make no sense.
It's very, very...
Yeah. Oh, what's that? Your brain hurts? Yeah, me too. Welcome to wrestling.
So this is all...
Why am I
obviously...
suddenly so tired? Wrestling, of course.
Wrestling logic. So this is, of course, all building up to the Inferno match, which is pretty widely acclaimed as a pretty piss-poor match. I would say this, I think...
By nobody. Oh, Dylan forgot the one last part of that. By no one. Everyone
yes, by
loves
nobody.
it.
No, it's great. But
Yeah.
the one part of it that I really like, the one part of the Inferno match, the only thing I think you can't really...
Wait, Dylan, is it the part where the guy who is in charge of every time there's a big move, he makes the flames go higher? He hits the whoosh,
Yes.
and he misses one? And then a second later, after a big move, it goes whoosh. That's my favorite part.
Well, this was the funniest match to play in any wrestling game with the match in it. I will say that. Like, once
Interesting.
graphics got better, it was a fun match to play. Like, it was a real match, but there was a time when graphics were bad where you just had to do the throw the guy out of the ring thing, and then the guy would just die in the flame. And his noise would just make a very realistic... Ah!
Yeah. Ah! And it would make a whoosh noise. Yeah.
Oh, I threw that guy into the fire and then he nutted. Good. I guess I win.
Do you think that Vince Russo had a first man to nut match proposal? Because I have a feeling
he wanted that so badly. Bro, and then you rub his fucking dick until he nuts, bro.
Bro, okay, first off, you smoke a bunch of weed, make sure your back's loose,
Loses
bro.
is gay and they die, bro. I
Yeah.
kill him real life in the ring, bro.
Yeah, and then you drown him in his own cum, bro.
And then he drinks a ton of his own cum and he dies. And you win the title that way in wrestling.
Okay, bro, here's the conclusion. This is him pitching to Tim Turner. Okay, bro, here's how we would do the last match. Dusty Rhodes, we actually kill him by drowning him in a bowl of his son's own cum.
Which son, though, bro? Cody or Dustin? That's what you got to decide here, bro.
Yeah, bro, and then we'll have an internet poll, bro, to decide which one of his sons' cum he drowns in.
Oh, God damn it. So, that match was pitched, but they went with the Inferno match. Of course, we go ahead towards the end of our episode here. The previous Raw, before Kane wins the title from Stone Cold, he speaks for the first time and, of course, says, if I lose this match, I will set myself on fire, as he is directed to by Vince McMahon. And this is actually the only turn they've ever done with Kane that they did carefully, because Kane is going to turn to a babyface in 1998, And they did it carefully because Vince McMahon and Paul Bearer are clearly working together and using Kane, and it's gaining sympathy slowly throughout the weeks until he then joins DX and learns to fuck.
Yeah.
As everything was in the Attitude Era. And then he fucked a chick with big-ass titties. And
then he was better.
Guy.
Yeah. As we'll cover next week, nothing clears up burns more than that pun. Let's just quickly talk about the First Blood match that results in Kane not setting himself on fire. Couple of things. One, they start off the pay-per-view by just showing a bunch of gas jugs that they've put by Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Two, that match has to follow the match where Mick Foley dives off the fucking top of the Hell in a Cell.
And then Mick Foley interferes.
Never forget.
In that match.
That's the craziest thing is the man who's dead, the man who dies. Still, like, that's why wrestling's fucked. Oh, well, you were strong enough to finish the match, so before you go to the hospital, couldn't you just pop out and make sure that Kane doesn't lose this match?
Isn't that fucking insane that they made Mick Foley, like, when they say, oh my God, we thought he was dead, we were all really concerned. Terry Funk wasn't actually planned to come out. He came out just to buy time for Mick. Then don't make him interfere in the main event. Find another thing.
Yeah, also, like, that's the thing with that whole pay-per-view thing, like, if you watch it, it's very different now because they would never let it get that far, and it's mostly because of this match. But, like, when you watch him, the second hit where he goes through the top of the roof, so the first one, he's a bit hurt because he bit through his tongue, or he bit through his lip, is his main injury, and he's shook up, but he's okay. It's the second hit he has no memory from the continuation of. Yeah, because that wasn't supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to fall through the ring. He wasn't protected. He's dislocated arm. So if you watch like all those guys who run in the ring, it's because they were brought out to check on him after the first fall and then look back and go, "Oh Jesus Christ, he's dead." Like that trainer who slides in right away. That's the actual WWEF doctor at the time who is basically being like, let me just make sure this guy's alive before we move on. Terry Funk runs out to buy him time. Vince McMahon is out there because there is potential lawsuits and problems, all this sort of stuff. Jim Ross, the best moment of his entire career is not the call as he comes off the top of that cell. It's the call as he's trying to buy time of him screaming at Vince McMahon to stop the match, which they haven't stopped because they don't know if they were going to need to. And then that continues on with when Mick Foley interferes in that main event, Jim Ross is basically beside himself and is acting like he has just seen a dead man come back to the grave to prevent Steve Austin from being the champion. It's tremendous storytelling and links these four wrestlers as sort of the four main parts of the main event in the order of Stone Cold number 1, Undertaker number 2, Kane number 3, Mick Foley number 4. It's spectacular. Spectacular.
It's very good, and another great thing I like about it is that The Undertaker just comes out with a bunch of gasoline and just pours it on a ref for no reason.
Oh, yeah, to wake him up.
Pours gasoline on a... No, the ref's already awake.
No, it was to wake him up. That's why he does it. It's because the referee was out and he needed him to count the... he wanted him to count the 1, 2, 3.
No, in the main event. And there was a First Blood match, so... And Undertaker's the face, so it doesn't make sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, but he does that because that's when there starts to be talk that him and Kane are in an alliance.
Oh, yeah. What a great story.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's got Vince Russo's dirty fingerprints all over it. Dylan, for this portion of Kane's career, what is the worst thing?
Here's the worst thing about Kane, and it might be the worst thing about wrestling in general. The worst thing about Kane is I genuinely believe that some of this Kane shit would have been better, like the story would have been easier if wrestling had an off season. If there was a season ending and there was a beginning in pro wrestling, then you don't have to just keep on going. And I think Kane is a victim of that, is they just had to keep on fucking going. And the other thing is The Undertaker had his spot. And without The Undertaker ever being injured or giving up his spot, then Kane is just number 2 under The Undertaker.
It's a great point. It's a fucking great point.
I am really smart. John, what's the worst thing about Kane during this period for you?
It's cape.
It's cape.
Yeah, he has to wear a cape sometimes, and it's really dumb. It makes him look like a goddamn buffoon.
We're going to speak specifically about Kane then. All right, so how about this another worst thing? What's worse, Isaac Yankem or Fake Diesel?
Oh, here's a hot take. I'm going to say Isaac Yankem. I don't know why.
I was going to say the same thing. Why?
I think that Fake Diesel you could kind of make into something, which is like, I'm playing this character. Like, there's ways to go about it. Isaac Yankem is just fucking stupid.
Yeah, Fake Diesel, I don't think you don't have a name. You're just a guy playing a part, like, in a very obvious way they haven't done in wrestling before or since, that this man is playing a part.
Yeah.
So it really distances you from Isaac Yankem. It's like, no, that's an evil motherfucking dentist. It's like, there's no way.
He's a dentist and that's bad. Any other questions? Yeah, who writes this shit? That's my first question.
Ooh, Letterman. So, what's your favorite thing about Kane, John? What makes you love him?
The best thing that they did in this period, which was at the time, and Undertaker still does it when he pins people, he puts their hands over their chest. At this point, they would have Kane hold the arms out like a cross, and it was just a great sort of ode of, this is the Undertaker's brother, but he's more badass than the Undertaker, and it was such a really easy, simple, visual, brilliant trick. I loved it. Dylan, hit me with it.
That is a very, very, very good point.
Yeah, I'm very good at my job. I'm very good at it.
That would be my favorite thing, is that they were careful and made Kane the next evolution of the Undertaker, in that he did the tombstone slightly differently. He did the choke slam with one arm. He, instead of doing old school, he just went on the top rope and did a clothesline. Like, he's the evolution of the Undertaker in every single way. And really the totality and how careful they were with the character is clearly the best thing. Like, it's the totality of, like, giving this dude a second chance. Because make no mistake, like, 3 strikes you're out, man. If this doesn't do well, he's fucked. But
also, yeah, make no mistake, it's wrestling. Sometimes it's no strikes and you're out.
Yeah, they just really liked him. Like,
yeah, they really like Glen Jacobs. They really like Kane. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to lie to you. The phone that I'm using to speak to Dylan over Skype is about to die. So that's the end of this episode. My name is John Hastings. I am clearly the Undertaker to Dylan Gott's Isaac Yankem.
John's gonna yank him, his dick wise. Thanks very much for listening, guys. We have our live show. That is at wrestlerreview.angelfire.com. You can get tickets there, or click the link on our Twitter. It's the pinned post. That's at Wrestler Review on Twitter and Instagram. Join us, be a fucking patron. If you give us enough goddamn motherfucking money, you can pick a wrestler we do over the course of a week, a month, a fucking year. 52 episodes. Give us enough money, we'll fucking do it. Why the fuck not?
Eat my butt.
Suck my dick. Ha ha ha. Bye-bye.
Shut up your fat.
And you have to wonder what Paul Bearer is about to say.
I'd like to remind you, Paul Bearer, that The Undertaker is here with us tonight. And he, along with millions of others, will be listening to every word you say.
Well, we're going to have to go back a few years, Mr. McMahon. About 20 years, to be exact. We're talking about a little funeral home sitting up on a hill, beautiful oak trees all around, and a wonderful, wonderful family-owned funeral home. The family lived upstairs. The father was the mortician who ran the funeral home. The mother was the secretary, the receptionist, but there were 2 little kids there. One kid was a little red-headed punk. And then there was a second kid, a sweet little kid, named Kane. Now, I was the apprentice at the funeral home. I worked under the red-headed punk's father. you probably know is The Undertaker. The Undertaker's father was a mortician of excellence. He taught me everything I know. He taught me the correct way to prepare a body for burial, how to do the makeup, how to deal with the families. He taught me from A to Z. But while I was working at that funeral home, I seen a lot of things going on that shouldn't have been happening. This little red-headed punk, there was something funny about him. He had a look in his eyes. The look of the devil. He was a devil's seed, if you know what I mean. What was so sad about the whole situation is that poor little Kane, the little brother, followed the Undertaker around everywhere he went. The Undertaker was little Kane's hero. Anything the Undertaker did was fine. Well, it went on for about 2 years, my apprenticeship. I was going to college at night, taking courses in mortuary science at the same time. The Undertaker and Kane would run around the funeral home like wild men. They had free reign of the property. They'd sneak out behind the garage. I see what they were doing. Their mom and daddy didn't see what they were doing, but I saw what they were doing. I saw them taking chemicals out of the embalming room of the funeral home. I saw them sneaking behind the garage, smoking cigarettes when they were little kids. But you know, one particular afternoon, I was leaving to go to school. As I backed my car out of the funeral home, I looked behind, and who do I see? That red-head devil's seed Undertaker with his little brother. Something was funny. Something didn't seem right. But I went ahead and backed out of the driveway, went to school. I came back from school about 10 o'clock that night, and what do I see? I see fire trucks. I see ambulance. I see steam and smoke, and I see the funeral home in ashes. Someone burned down the funeral home. Inside the funeral home was this lovely family that took care of me. I looked over to the bushes. Who did I see in the bushes but the Undertaker? Undertaker, you burnt the funeral home to the ground.
I took it upon myself to come out here and to tell the truth about what the Rock and Roll Express are really feeling in their hearts. You know, we've been wrestling these guys on different shows, and they've been running from us. They've been scared. They've been terrified. And
I haven't seen that. And how would you know what's in their heart?
Jim, buddy, it's all right. Anyway, save it up, okay? You're delirious with fever. Rock and Roll Express, I know what's in your heart, and we're going to show these people what's really in your heart. In fact, we got some demonstrational aids because we know all the people out there are so stupid. First, we got Robert here. Here we go. There.
Oh, that's Robert, huh?
Here we go.
And let me guess, you're Ricky.
Heh, brother. Heh, heh. I'm Ricky Morton. Heh. Rock and Roll Express forever. Heh. What do you think, huh? Heh.
I think it's ridiculous.
Boy, if you ever had an original thought, it'd die of loneliness. Well, brother, all I got to say is, Al Snow, Unabomb, please don't hurt us no more. Please, you beat us up so bad. We can't take it anymore. In fact, you beat us up so bad, Robert Gibson's mama's even wrote us a note. And she, right there, that's right. Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much. Robert, you dummy, your mother wrote it in sign language. I can't read sign language that well.
Please stop that. Show some respect.
I am. I'll try. Dear Mr. Snow and Mr. Unabomber. That's that other big guy. Rock and roll. Dear Mr. Snow and Mr. Unabomber, please don't beat up my boys anymore. Don't hurt Ricky Morton or my little anymore, please, sir. Signed, Mrs. Gibson. Who's it? Oh, that's right. That's you, Robert. That's what your mother used to call you because she couldn't talk. Ricky Morton?
Sick.
Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson. Ricky, you're so skinny they got to tie knots in your legs just so you have knees. And Robert Gibson, you're so cross-eyed when you cry, the tears run down your back. If you think for a minute that we're going to be happy just taking your stinking belts, you're out of your minds. Because we didn't come here just for a belt. We came here to kill a legend. And the Rock and Roll Express are going to be dead real soon.
I have been around a lot of repulsive things.